The Great Ride was made possible by the Catherine Mabus McKenna Foundation and UPMC, with additional funding from these supporters. Thank you.
History has its footsteps on this land. From Native Americans to an emerging nation. And then progress carved a canal through the landscape, bringing commerce and building towns. Soon, the railroads would come through to push time forward. And now, different wheels traveled the path on two trails, the C&O Canal towpath and the Great Allegheny Passage between Washington, D.C. and Pittsburgh.
It's going to be absolutely beautiful and breathtaking.
You're riding through a tunnel of green.
I get to reconnect with Mother Earth.
You meet people from all over the world.
For me, it's about the bike, and I just enjoy the views.
You may see osprey
This is a gateway through the mountains.
and wonderful rapids. And just upstream is Antietam Battlefield.
And I like to be taken back into time.
Journey through history, 335 miles.
I'm a city boy myself. Being able to remove myself and get out into the woods, I think it's pretty cool.
This is so beautiful.
Along rivers, through forests, and small towns. Hear the echoes of the region's industrial glory.
A little piece of heaven on earth. Yeah.
All of it cradled by vistas that surround you on one great ride.
This is the perfect place to start. Taking the memories, taking the beauty of these monuments and this landscape with me, I get to take that back home. My name is Nathan Babiak. I am a United States Marine Corps veteran.
And my name is Sarah Babiak. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. You know, there's nothing better than having just my husband next to me riding and being able to talk about our day and our life.
Here we are at mile 0, getting ready to head out. We're looking forward to getting it started. It's beautiful, sun's out, birds are chirping, ready to hit the trail.
When we get on the trail, it's our chance to be together for a couple hours, to just enjoy each other, to reconnect. Really kind of neat to see all this. Being on the trail, the trees are tall and makes you feel very small, especially when you get deep into the trail.
We're riding on the C&O Canal towpath. When the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal came through here, the mules and the horses walked this path as they pulled the canal boats. Now it's the bike trail.
When I think of her, she's really sweet. Hi, baby doll. She's one of the easiest going mules I've ever met.
The job of the mules was to keep pulling those boats from Cumberland to Georgetown and back again. You made your money hauling coal. Most of the people who worked on the canal, they were called canalers. The captain would own the boat, he'd bring along his wife, and they'd have a few children to help them run the operations. The main job for the children was walking with the mules. Not too many people know about the canal era in this country because once the trains came along, the canal building era stopped.
Riding along that canal and you look at what once was, it's eerie. It's almost eerie, it's a ghost. I'm able to kind of put together my own stories, picture people working the canal, having the mule pull the boats out of dock. I think it's pretty cool.
Great Falls on the Potomac River. This is the simple answer for why they didn't simply use the Potomac River for transportation and why they dug a canal instead. You can't take your bikes out here, but you can park them at the bike rack, and it's, you know, from the towpath, it's a 5-10 minute walk out here.
The water is crashing. The noise is so beautiful. It was very romantic with the love of my life. After, you know, a long, hot ride.
So even though the path takes you off the trail pretty far, it's completely worth it. When you get out there, it's breathtaking, to say the least.
The lock houses were for the lock keepers, and each lock had a lock keeper. You got a very small house to live in, free of charge, free of rent. You had a little plot of land to farm. You could raise some vegetables. You might even have some chickens.
I've been all over the world. I've traveled and seen some of the most amazing places and sights that you can see. But this trail offers so much more than that.
You never know what you're going to see or who you're going to meet around the next bend.
My songwriting and singing name is Lunch Meat Larry.
As a veteran transitioning back to civilian life, I have found this helpful because it is 100% the best way for me to relieve stress.
You can't eliminate all your problems in your life, but you can really do your best to take them in stride and embrace them. And this, you know, being out here and just riding the bike really helps me do that. So a lot of veterans during their transition from military back to civilian life tend to venture down paths that aren't necessarily healthy. We're able to go out there and do something healthy together, and it really gives us better attitudes.
We've ridden more than 60 miles, and I am feeling exhausted, but also rejuvenated in a sense. Brings life back to you.
I live on Camp Hill, which is the upper town of Harpers Ferry. To get to the C&O, have a big coast down Washington Street, which turns into High Street. The reason I love Harpers Ferry is it's full of history, it's full of beautiful scenery, good bicycling, good hiking, all the things I love to do. My name is Chris Craig. I played piano from the time I was a very small child. I became a certified park guide for Harpers Ferry National Historical Park. I enjoy the history through this stretch. John Brown in 1859 came here with the goal of starting a slave insurrection that would spread throughout the South. And of course, that would lead to freedom for the slaves. Thomas Jefferson visited here in 1783. He commented about one of the great views in the region. It's a great trail town. The Appalachian Trail is a hiking trail nearly 2,200 miles long. It goes from Georgia to Maine. Just like the C&O, it comes right through Harpers Ferry.
I started at Mount Katahdin, Maine at the end of May.
My name is Gonzo. One of the traditions of the Appalachian Trail is that you take a trail name.
My trail name is G-Man and my real name is Mitch.
From Mount Katahdin to here is 1,166.1 miles. Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Because I walked them.
People coming off the Appalachian Trail can transition onto the C&O towpath right here in Harpers Ferry. In fact, the two are one and the same for the 3-mile stretch downstream from Harpers Ferry. To get to the towpath from Harpers Ferry, it has a few challenges. There's a walkway across the old railroad bridge. You walk your bike across the bridge, and then you have to carry it down a circular iron staircase, and that's the big challenge. The C&O is a slow ride. There are long stretches where you're in largely forest, little glimpses of the river off and on. Most of the canal is overgrown today. A lot of marshy areas, a lot of places there's no water at all, just trees and brush. A lot of times in the marshy areas you'll see big old snapping turtles enjoying the sun and the insects. You'll see herons and other water birds, just a real sight to see. Along the C&O there are two things that unite the history of the river and the towns along the river. One is the Civil War, but the other is George Washington. George Washington was just all over the place. In historical times, it was tribes like the Delaware, Shawnee, Iroquoian tribes like the Tuscarora who settled around the Potomac. It was an important place. You go within 3 miles of a national battlefield that commemorates the Battle of Antietam. It's the site of the bloodiest day in American history, September 17th, 1862. There were 23,000 casualties in that one day. So many lives were lost and so much sacrifice. An aqueduct is a place where the canal would cross a river. They would have to build these actual stone structures to carry the water, as well as the mules or horses with their barges.
Fantastic, absolutely brilliant, yeah. That's why we like doing things like this, because you can see so much. If you just hired a car for 2 weeks, you wouldn't get to see as much of the real America.
Bye.
The arrival of the canal was an exciting time. It made a boom in the coal that was opening up in those early days. I think it was a time of enterprise, and it formed quite a community, I think. I actually arrived on bicycle more quickly than the canal barges would have. 70 miles, time to call it a day. See you in the morning. Hancock, Maryland is one of the earliest settlements of Western Maryland, and it became pretty important early on. It's a transportation hub. It's a great town that's preserved a lot of that history and has some good food and good services for bicyclists on the canal today.
Here we are on day 3 here in Paw Paw. Well, yesterday it rained quite a bit in this area. The Maryland part of the trail is basically mud when it rains. The Paw Paw Tunnel through the mountain carries the canal, just like you've been seeing it out in the open. The amazing thing is that this tunnel, which is today a little over 3,100 feet, was all blasted with black powder and dug out by hand. Many of those workers are lost to history. Pawpaw is a native fruit. To me, they taste a little bit like banana custard. I understand some bicyclists decide to ride through the tunnel. That's not my ambition. It's kind of tight quarters when you have two-way traffic here. Hi there. There are 5 million bricks in here. It's pretty impressive to think they were all laid by hand. That light is deceptive. It looks like you ought to be arriving at it much more quickly than you are. Cumberland is kind of a unique experience on the canal after you leave Washington. It's really the only canal town that you could really call a city. It became a pretty major industrial center. It's a town that has a real vital downtown and a very supportive community. They've done some wonderful things. It's a great town to visit. Cumberland is a significant midpoint. For many, it can also be a beginning point or an end point if you're only doing the C&O Canal or only doing the Gap stretch. I'm so glad that it's still possible to travel at this slow pace and to be able now to ride out my front door, get on the canal, and end up here in Cumberland. It's a real special experience.
Nothing like getting ready for a good trip. You know what? Maybe must
Oh, yeah.
We gonna hit it, we gonna make it do what we do, we gonna have some fun, and we will check with you later. Peace.
I met these 3 women through our group, Black Girls Do Bike.
Like you said, we typically don't see our faces out here. There are a lot of African American women, as long as we're an all-inclusive group, and we like to cycle.
She said that one of her goals was to ride the Gap Trail. And we all said we want to do it. Did a lot of training for this ride and just practice riding with our gear.
I think I could really do this.
We
come from nature, and we're just reconnecting back to what's there for us.
Me to tell the story of the 50-mile ride we did. I mean, we lost Diana because she kept looking at birds.
Yeah, it gets tough sometimes.
All right, come on, ladies, let's keep going, let's keep going, let's keep going.
We are here. It is hot today. It's a little humid.
Right here, 54. That's where we are.
So right now we're just taking a rest, you know, getting some protein, some fatty nuts, anything that our body needs, ice water.
Refueling all the way.
We're doing good, ladies. Making great timing.
I love seeing wind turbines.
Yeah, definitely in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea where we're at.
These girls mean a lot to me because they push me, so I appreciate that.
I like history, and I like to be taken back into time, and like my imagination goes, and it feels good.
Y'all, we made it! Mason-Dixon line.
I'm in Maryland.
Half in Pennsylvania, half in Maryland.
Oh.
So cool.
Oh.
Cramping, I'm yet making my achievements. These cramps are driving me nuts, but I'm making it. I'm making this accomplishment. It's absolutely beautiful. It's breathtaking.
Not just beautiful, serene.
It's like you can see for miles. A little piece of heaven on earth.
Yeah.
So it's a real true camaraderie. It really is. It's a sisterhood. It's an amazement that we actually started down there and came from there.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez.
That's there.
Wow.
That means everything will be all right.
Okay.
Everything is gonna be all right. Coming back. Like you said.
There was plenty of times that I was like, I don't know if I could do it. Maybe I should cancel. And to actually be here from having it in our head, out our head, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah. People say I whine a lot, but I don't want to do that. Oh, crap, I'm so tired.
Oh, I didn't know that the bag was going to be so heavy. And bugs, yeah. Snakes. Snakes.
You don't have to be young to do this. And as a matter of fact, I see a lot of older people who beat us, you know, and we're like, whoa. I'm deathly scared of heights. So I've actually looked at how high the bridges are because I'm afraid of bridges.
I haven't slept in like 2 days, so I'm gonna be ready to pitch my tent. We're here. Yes. This trip has been definitely an adventure. Favorite part, I will have to say, going down after the Continental Divide, having all of our gear did help have weight, and so we ended up going faster, going down. Do you know how to light a fire?
We did it together. We pedaled it together. We were tired, we were a little hot, but we stuck together and we did it.
When we go back to Cleveland, we're going to take lots of memories back with us. You know, lots of memories and pictures and video. Because I got video now.
When I crawl in that tent tonight, I'm going to remember everything I experienced today. The do's, the don'ts, the have-nots. I'm just going to remember the beauty of everything that I saw. It will be like a motion picture replaying back in my mind.
Okay, well, when I crawl into the tent, I'm going to sleep.
That too.
You're just sort of floating over the valley, just gliding across the things that you're looking down on. The sun's moving, so you get different angles, different shadows. Clouds come in, the light changes to a whole different trail. I'm Paul Wigman. I'm a naturalist, I'm a writer, and I'm a photographer. And I've spent a lot of years riding the trail, walking the trail, capturing the beauty of the Great Allegheny Passage. Byersdale is the top of Somerset County, but more and more people are coming, staying overnight, riding one section, staying in a nice B&B, and then riding another section.
It's really a lifeline to the economy now in this town.
Trying to get folks to understand what a gold mine we're really sitting on with the Great Allegheny Passage and 1 million bike riders 2 blocks from here. There's so many walks of life, a lot of professionals, a lot of retired people, people from all over the world. You know, they're very interesting people.
Byersdale is in the center of a lot of maple sugaring. They have a maple festival at the end of March into early April. The Salisbury Viaduct is an amazing part of the railroad architecture. You're crossing the CSX Railroad, you're crossing New 219, you're crossing the Castleman River, and you're crossing farm fields. With the wind turbines in the background in both directions now, it's one of my favorite parts. Yes, it's a bike trail, but to me it's a nature trail. And it's a 150-mile long nature trail. This area is called mixed mesophytic forest. Big words, but mesophytic means wet forest. So you have nearly 120 species of trees that you'll find in these valleys of the Allegheny Mountains. The variety is just great, including the variety of wildflowers. And approach the flower from the bee's viewpoint, which usually means getting very low and getting down and seeing the flower at eye level. Learn the characteristics, what makes it a wild geranium, and making sure that in your photograph you have those characteristics. We have a lot of rocks around and we have a lot of wood around. We'll call it rockwood. Rockwood built around the railroads to some extent. It's another one of the towns that was built on timber, coal mining, and when those things were gone, the towns began to decay. Businesses have come in and been built around the trail.
I started hiking on the coast of Delaware, and I'm headed west.
At the Pinkerton Horn, it's geologically interesting because the Castleman River turns and goes out about a mile and a half and comes back in a big long loop. The railroad decided to cross the river in a short bridge and go through with a tunnel. To be riding along and just feeling a little bit warm and suddenly go into the cool of the tunnel. And underground is 54 degrees year-round. Going in there, it is a real delight. You want to stay in there a little bit longer. And then get back onto another bridge almost immediately to cross the river. Closer to the river here. There are numerous places you can stop, park your bike, and walk down and dip your foot in the river. This route was the route that was used by George Washington when he was coming to the area for exploration and finding open lands. The Native Americans were using it, colonial British were using it. It's been a route of commerce and exploration for many, many, many years. Geologically, it's interesting because you're going way back in time, but it's also interesting from the fact that you're going through the mountain, not over it. You're seeing so many different ecosystems, so many habitats, and a wide variety of plants and animals. Back in 1975, Josh Wetzel, the president of the Conservancy, had a vision of a trail. And a lot of people said, well, that's just crazy. Who wants to ride their bike in the woods? But he said this will work. And now we have people from all over the world riding that same trail that he saw back in '75.
Originally, I'm from Ghana.
Born in Chile, and my sister still lives in Chile.
Scarborough, which is in the northeast of England.
You can also make friends along the trail. Like I met Chris, and like we've biked since like mile marker 4 all the way up to Rockwood. So it's pretty nice to have someone else tag along with you. Like it makes the ride a little easier.
Confluence is called confluence because the river's confluence. It's the confluence of the Youghiogheny River, the Castleman River, and Laurel Hill Creek. And the Yaugh continues north towards Ohiopyle. Once you go through the water gap, and then it begins to open up and you do a run right in the Ohiopyle. And during the summer, you know you're headed for Ohiopyle because all the rafts are on the river beside you and you can hear them whooping and hollering on the rapids as they go in. The Zen-like feeling is soothing and relaxing. The rest of the world goes away, and the only thing that exists is this valley and this forest and this trail. I'm 75. I expect to be riding the trail probably another 75 years. I just love this place, and as long as I can make my legs work and I can get in and get out of this trike, I'll be here.
My name is Clarence Johnson. I live along the Gap Trail, and I'm a trail monitor, and I'm part of a maintenance crew and a work crew that takes care of the Gap. As a child growing up, there was probably one TV in town and there was one bike in town. And if you wanted to ride on a bike, you asked this guy who owned a bike, could you ever ride on a bike? So growing up, I never had a bike. Joined the Air Force right out of high school, and I was actually a Russian interpreter in the Air Force. I got out of the military, and the first thing I did was bought a bicycle. I like riding this part of the trail from Ohiopyle to West Newton. It's nice to remember the Pittsburgh to Lake Erie Railroad came right through here, right where I'm pedaling. The thing that I like about cycling is the seclusion. You're by yourself. You have time to think about the things you want to think about. Nobody will intrude upon you, and I'm a family man, so it's important to have a little seclusion every once in a while. Every town through here was known for something important. Here in Connellsville, British General Edward Braddock led his troops across the Youghiogheny River, and later, Connellsville would become the coal and coke capital of the world. My favorite part of the trail is what they call the Outback, and it's called the Outback because there's very few interactions with the community. Sometimes you're 5-6 foot from the Yough, and you hear the river running across the rocks, you hear the wind coming through the trees, and it's the ultimate calming. You know, and you can ride like that for 5, 6, 7 miles, 10 miles, and it's all you hear. If you know any of the history of Western Pennsylvania, it's dotted with thousands of coal camps. The coal companies bought the property, they started a mine, and then they had houses built to their conformity for rent or usage by the miners who worked the coal mines. I was born and my younger siblings were born here in Whitsett. My father, Clarence Johnson Sr., was a coal miner. My family is huge. I'm one of 14. Whitsett is what every local community around wants to be like.
Hi.
It's close to a melting pot of America as you can possibly find on that community day.
Thank you. Come again.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I have 5 uncles down here.
and they all live in town. We get to see each other, spend a little time, 2 or 3 hours, eat, talk, reminisce, and they're all a bunch of good people. They're willing to volunteer, they're willing to give their time and their effort. It took a lot of commitment and work from volunteers to build this trail. My family were an intricate part of it.
I love this trail. I love the Great Allegheny Passage. I wish every town had access to a resource like this.
When you cycle through these little towns, you'll see what everyday life is like. There's a couple of old buildings, the old mine buildings are still around. You know, Rachel Sager bought one and she has the mosaic place there.
I had bought what is left of Banning No. 2 coal mine, which is the ruins, and that's what I've called it, the Ruins Project. And as an artist, I saw that as an opportunity to create a giant substrate for mosaic, and that's what I've done. I come from coal. My father, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather all mined coal. That coal that came out of this mine that is now the Ruins Project built the skyscrapers. It built cities. It fought wars. It did so many things. This is a slice of time, a slice of history that has been forgotten, and it deserves its own story.
I think it's just an excellent way for the town to grow. Mostly when you ride through these towns, they're diminishing until the trail came in. You know, they were slowly going downhill, but the trail has revitalized a lot of them. Cedar Creek Park is an entity unto itself. A lot of amenities. There's water facilities. There's a boat ramp to the river. There's campgrounds. People who've never been on the Gap, they're missing something that's really outstanding. They don't understand that just a simple walk on the trail could change their mind about a lot of things. The reason I'm happy to take care of the Gap Trail is because it's a part of my front yard. You know, at heart, I'm a volunteer and a helper. I think our only purpose is here to be of help to our fellow man and to anything you can do to help. To me, it has everything that I want, you know. It's just a beautiful place to live. Never gets old. Never gets old.
My name is Doug Rigner. Kind of think of myself as an ambassador on the trail. I'm out here quite a bit. I spend a lot of time out on the trail. You'll see me out here. I like to start here at West Newton Visitor Center, which used to be the train station. And from here to Pittsburgh, it's about 37 miles. This time of year, you'll see a lot of leaves changing along the trail. What I love most about the trail is the freedom, the ability to park your car, take your bike off, and just head in either direction and pedal as far as you want to go. And the trail offers you a disconnect from everything. There are a lot of interesting waterfalls along here. They call it the red waterfall, and the red comes from iron. It always feels a little cooler when you go by. The white waterfall gets color from aluminum oxide. Autumn's a great time to be on the trail because the trail is open year-round. Something about the autumn light makes it cool to stop and visit Trevaux Cemetery. Soldiers from the Civil War are buried here. Some people say it's haunted. You can tell we're getting closer to Pittsburgh because the landscape is feeling more urban. Here in Boston is a great little visitor center. Inside they have souvenirs and a map you can see where people come from.
Oh, look at that. Someone all the way from New Zealand came up here. Iowa.
Missouri.
You can put your pin now.
I should.
I meet so many people from all over the world. You could, on any given day, find riders as young as 4 and 5 years old biking with their grandparents to elderly retired people. It's easy. Right here, the trail gets closer to the tracks. It goes through McKeesport. This is one of the old steel towns on the Monongahela River. This is the Riverton Bridge. It was one of the last pieces to be completed on the trail heading into Pittsburgh. Back in the day, trains ran between the mills on both sides of the river. The last train crossed in 2008. Trail Lines built an access ramp. They put on a new deck and people can cross the river now. This is the pump house in Munhall. There's some pretty important history here. The Homestead Steel Strike happened here in 1892. There was a big clash between armed guards and steelworkers, and that eventually led to changes in labor. And now people can actually rent the pump house for events. There's always a crowd at this part of the trail here in Hayes, and everybody's looking up.
We usually have spotting scopes set up for people to look at. You look that way, you got bridges and neighborhoods, and you know, they're urban eagles.
We go up. Up.
It's been more than 100 years since people have seen eagles in Pittsburgh.
The cool thing is when people come through either jogging or biking or just walking, hey, what are you guys looking at? And then we tell them, and 9 out of 10 of them show a lot of interest.
The leaves are down and you can see a lot of wildlife.
And once you see one of these eagles fly over you for the first time, you're hooked.
I'm walking the Great Allegheny Passage and hopefully the C&O Canal. It's a great walk. To get to downtown Pittsburgh, you have to cross the river one more time. You go from the south side of Pittsburgh across the Mon River on the Hot Metal Bridge. They call it that because trains used to carry molten iron to the steel mills on the other side. Steel was so important to the city for so many generations. nice wide deck on this bridge, and you'll see all types of people using it to get to and from work. What you're seeing with the trail like the Great Allegheny Passage is a testament to the commitment of the towns and the people, the trail groups that still maintain the trail. For over 30 years, people raised money to build the trail. This is a great vantage point to see the city. I never get tired of looking at that skyline. Lots of groups like veterans ride this trail together. Earlier this year, I rode with them. Riding a bike kind of feels like flying. That's how it feels to me. When you're in the home stretch, there's this sense of accomplishment. I think everyone shares that feeling when they get to the end.
What a great ride.
You get to take home these memories.
That was such a great ride. 150 miles.
Knowing that someone's waiting for you is like a homecoming. Hey, Ennis. Good to see ya.
I think this trail will always be a part of my life.
I'm so glad that we did this together.
This is the way to see America.
The Great Ride was made possible by the Catherine Mavis McKenna Foundation and UPMC, with additional funding from these supporters. Thank you.